Hello, divergents and typicals. Today's topic is on ADHD and addiction. It is another very personal subject for me, just as the autism and alcohol episode, which you might want to watch first in order to follow my story chronologically. So let us begin. I shared my story last time to about the beginning of high school where I had already become addicted to alcohol and cigarettes. Maybe I should also include weed here because I had already started using it daily. I was 14 at the time, and this is where my addictions turned much more serious and dangerous. But before that, I want to share about my early childhood. I first started playing video games when I was 6, and by the end of primary school, I was already addicted to gaming. I liked role playing games and city builders the most, and I spent a couple of hours each day overstimulating my brain with them. My grandparents tried to teach me not to stay too much on the computer, but I didn't really listen back then. I didn't really understand the issue. Drinking, slowly but surely, overtook this addiction of mine in a couple of years. Going to high school, I had to change cities, which for my autistic brain was hell of a stress since I had to make friends all over again. I lost all of the ones I had made, and just the thought of making new ones was making me go out of my mind. To add to the pressure, my high school had 3 times more students than my previous one. This made for the perfect storm. I started drinking even more and daily. It wasn't long before my impulsive, risk taking behavior stemming from my ADHD, coupled with my fear of being bullied, stemming from me being bullied in primary school, made me look up to the more adaptable, bad kids, which were often from the higher grades at school. Now that I think about it, quite a lot of them I think were neurodivergent. And this shouldn't come as much of a surprise since neurodivergents attract each other. As I said, neurodivergents stick together. About 3 months after the start of the school year, I had my first line of amphetamines given to me by a student 1 year older than me. I soon bought some of that stuff for me and gave it to my back then girlfriend to try. In a couple of weeks, we were hooked. And when I look back to her and think how she used to behave, she was most probably ADHD as well. In the next few months, we would infrequently take speed and we smoked weed and drank alcohol every day. And this was till the end of 8th grade. During the summer vacation, I managed to stay away from speed as I came back to my hometown for the whole summer. I also went for a month to visit my brother in the United States, where he was studying at university. I forgot to mention in the previous episode about autism and alcohol that my brother left for the States exactly at the same age when I started drinking. This really added to the feeling of insecurity at home, as he used to protect me from my emotionally abusive mother. So, anyway, I got back from my visit in the States, and the new school year started soon. The first few months, I got to mess around with speed again, and I remembered how I really enjoyed it. It satiated my need for overstimulation on a whole another level. It took me a few months, and I was already doing more than half a gram almost every day. And my girlfriend at the time was probably doing less quantity but with the same frequency. The second semester rolled around and I went to my first rave party with a friend of mine from my grade. We were just 15 years old, but back then In Bulgaria, it was very easy to get into night venues underage. There, we tried our first ecstasy pill. From then on, it was a massacre. I started going to more rave parties, and my first festival was at the end of the school year as I had just turned 16. I started abusing mollies and speed altogether and pouring heavy amounts of alcohol on top of them. I was also smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day. There was one particular party where I almost smoked 4 packs at once. I most probably gave some cigarettes away, but not too many. I was severely addicted and I had no real comprehension about that. I thought it was normal since everybody around me was doing it. Moreover, the worst part was yet to come. I still hadn't had my first severe emotional breakdowns from doing so many drugs in such large quantities at such an early age. Next school year began, and my grades had already started dropping. I was also already using speed at school. I would start drinking as soon as I finished classes. My emotional state deteriorated slowly but surely. I did not sleep some days of the week because I just simply couldn't fall asleep from all the amphetamines in my system. On top of all, I got addicted to masturbation, and stimulants and masturbation often go hand in hand. I was wasting away my life's energy on a daily basis. Sometimes, if I had more speed on me, I would continue doing lines throughout the whole night up until the morning, and I was just masturbating the whole time. It was ridiculous and disgusting. In a few months since the beginning of the school year, I started experiencing my first mental breakdowns. I broke a few phones out of anger, just throwing them at the wall. I broke my laptop just smacking it with a fist. I also started skipping classes and started sleeping in some since I had to catch up on the lost sleep. After the first semester of 10th grade, I was kicked out of my first high school because I was caught smoking weed with 3 other classmates. I couldn't care less that they were kicking me out. My brother came back from the States at the beginning of the second semester, where I was already at the new school. And soon enough, he noticed my drug habit. He had a serious talk with me, and afterwards was my first try to free myself from the grip of speed. I remember breaking down in front of him one night after snorting 1 gram, and I just started crying helplessly and just telling him that I want to stop somehow. I managed to stay away from amphetamines for 5 months. I also quit cigarettes and started going to the gym. I was still smoking weed and drinking beer though, but still, I gained more than 10 kilos in a couple of months. You can imagine how skinny I had become from using so much speed. Summer came around and it was festival season once more. I could not resist, so I started snorting speed and taking pills again. I had just turned 17. That summer, I also tried cocaine and methamphetamines. After the summer, with the beginning of the new school year, I tried to stay away from drugs once more, and an old habit of mine came in to save the day. I started playing video games once again. Of course, it became an addiction of its own in order to substitute my substance abuse. I was skipping classes and playing World of Warcraft for 9 hours a day every day. My need for stimulation was not very easily satiated. I still popped ecstasy pills and snorted speed or cocaine every once in a while when I would go to a party, but it was much less often. By the time I graduated, I struggled to get off stimulants a couple of times, but to no avail. After finishing high school, I went to study in Amsterdam for university. There, I firmly decided that I'm going to stay away from these drugs for good. I managed to do so most of the time there, but when I would come back home, the old habits would kick in once again. I felt severely depressed during all 4 years I spent in the Netherlands. All the pain from all the drugs I did came crushing down on me. I had so many meltdowns where I would hurt myself and it would just make me feel even more miserable. On top of all, staying away from stimulant drugs made me go deeper and deeper into alcohol and cannabis addiction. In my mind, that was okay because it was better than using speed every day. I was also playing a lot of video games just to pass the time. I got back from the Netherlands when I had just turned 23, and it took me 3.5 more years to completely get rid of stimulant drugs. The last period in which I snorted at the age of 26 for a few months, I also became addicted to gambling. I ended up losing a couple of thousands of euro. That was money I had saved from working in the Netherlands, as well as money that my family gave to me for graduating. I just wasted it all away. After that, you can imagine I was a complete mess. A few months later, also pushed by other events in my life, I tried committing suicide. I'm going to talk in a separate video about it in more detail. Overall, drugs played such a big role in my life. And if I only knew I am more susceptible to them because of my ADHD and my autism, which I was not aware I have back then, I would have most probably acted differently. I nearly took my own life because of my depression that resulted from the many years of substance abuse and other addictions that I had acquired. And this is the main reason that I decided to make this channel, in order to bring awareness to this issue, because many neurodivergent people suffer from substance abuse disorder and they go under the radar until they screw up their lives massively. People have to be more aware of this issue. Specialists have to be more aware of this issue. This is it for this video. I hope you guys follow through with this emotionally charged material. In the next episode, I'm going to cover some of the research out there on ADHD and addiction. So stay tuned and may peace be with you.